and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nyambura and this is 101 Books. It's been such a long time since I did a Maktaba Manenos that I feel like I've almost forgotten how to do them, but we will try. Okay, we will try. I have borrowed a bunch of books, so this is going to be a twofer. The hope is that I'm going to be recording every Wednesday. I'm recording on Wednesday the 25th of October 2023, and the goal here is to be recording every Wednesday afternoon so that I only do a week's worth of which books have been brought in from borrowing from the library and so on. In case you're new here, or in case it's been such a while you've forgotten what a Maktaba Manenos is about, Maktaba means library in Kiswahili, and Manenos is stuff, like vibes, like I don't quite know how to explain it. But anyway, Maktaba Manenos is where I do a library check-in and talk about the books that I've recently borrowed. I have library memberships at 7 libraries. Let's call them 8, including the Kenya National Library Services, Nairobi Area Library. And so I generally will be borrowing quite a number of books from all of these different sources. Mostly it's going to be ebooks and audiobooks because those are super convenient. I just have to check them out on Libby here on my phone. But sometimes it'll be a physical book. You've had a chance to go to the library in person and borrow books from there. The Kenya National Library Service also has an ebook lending service, which I haven't yet checked out, but once I do, I'll let you know, and if I borrowed any books from there, I'll talk about them then. Anyway, without further ado, let's talk about the books I have borrowed right now. As I said, this is a twofer because there are quite a number of titles. And the first of those is All the Names Given by Raymond and Trovas. I've talked about this book before. It's a book of poetry. I still have not gotten around to reading it. So maybe I should just send it back to the library and forget about it. The next is You Need a Manifesto by Charlotte Burgess Orban. This is interesting to me because it's a co-production with the Stanford D School, the design school. And yeah, just the idea of a manifesto intrigues me. I've been reading it slowly, but I've definitely been reading it. The next one is Queer Career. I see here that one person is waiting, so I should really get to it. And the subtitle is Sexuality and Work in Modern America by Margot Kennedy. I found out about this book from, I think, NPR's Book of the Day podcast. If it's not that, I'll post a link to where I found out about it, but either way, I'll post a link downstairs. And it intrigued me because in the interview, Kennedy was talking about how one's sexuality as a queer person in America meant that certain jobs were unavailable to one, but also that one stayed in certain jobs because they provided some sort of security, or that you were able not necessarily to be out, but to be queer in those positions, and that drew my attention. So that's Queer Career, Sexuality and Work in Modern America by Margot Kennedy. The next book is How to Read Now by Elaine Castillo. This book is described thus. It says it explores the politics and ethics of reading and insists that we're capable of something better, a more engaged relationship, not just with our fiction and our art, but with our buried and entangled histories. I started reading it, like reading the ebook, didn't really get into it, so I'm hoping that the audiobook, because I have it as an audiobook, sticks. This is actually the first of the audiobooks I have. The previous books were ebooks. Then the next book is the ebook version of Palo Alto by Malcolm Harris. I've been reading this book very slowly this year, both the audiobook and the ebook, and its subtitle is A History of California, Capitalism and the World, and it's really what it says on the tin. It talks about how California has been the home of a lot of innovation for a host of reasons: government subsidies, the availability of land, the presence of Stanford especially stands out in the telling of this book. And yeah, I'm interested in finishing it and seeing what insights I get from it. Next is It's perfectly normal. Changing bodies, growing up, sex, gender, and sexual health, which I found out about from a YouTuber. I think her name is Cat Black. Yeah. Either way, I'm going to put a link to her video down below if I can find it, where she talks about this book and how it's been banned in some places, apparently for being, you know, vulgar and whatever. And so I figured, why not check it out and see what it's about. But also, I'm always interested in books about growing up and books that help explain to children and young people what happens as one grows up, especially books that are inclusive of queer people, of intersex people, and so on, which this apparently is. Next is Yes to the City, Millennials and the Fight for Affordable Housing by Max Holleran. I've been reading this book for ages. It talks about NIMBYism and those movements for affordable housing in especially North America and along, say, the west coast of the US, and exploring what it means to be urban, to navigate class, race, as well as income disparities when it comes to housing and access to housing. Then the last book I'm going to be mentioning in part one of this long Maktaba Manenos is Mom and Dad, We Need to Talk: How to Have Essential Conversations with Your Parents About Their Finances by Cameron Huddleston. I found out about this book from NPR's Life Kit podcast, where it's generally aimed at people of a certain age, my age, younger, who, probably have parents who are now in their late 50s, 60s, 70s even, and are trying to navigate the world. And one of those things is talking about finances, like how do you talk about death, end of life care, etc., with one's parents, one's caregivers, and so on, one's caregivers as a child, anyway. And how do you also navigate the possibility that you might become a caregiver at some point. I'm also going to post a link downstairs to not just that Life Kit episode, but also a Vox article about the fact that people my age, millennials, are going to be a sandwich generation where we'll be taking care of young children as we also take care of our old parents, and how that's going to put pressure on us in particular ways. So when I listened to that episode, the book stood out to me and I went ahead and borrowed a copy. So that's it for part one of this long Maktaba Manenos. I'll be back in no time with part two of this Maktaba Manenos, and hopefully see you next week with a shorter Maktaba Manenos where all I'll talk about is the books I'll have borrowed in between since the last time I've spoken to you. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and all the good things, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.